Hi guys, so it's now Monday of week 5. I've got 2 essays to hand in by Thursday, which is the first day of week 6. And I've been alternatively reading and procrastinating for the entire weekend. So let's see how that goes. In this video I'll also address the issue of procrastination and how I try to deal with it and what some good strategies are. Also, given that I'm here, I might as well tell you what I did today. You can probably tell that I'm a bit ill. My voice is a bit nasal right now, but hope you'll excuse that. Today at 10 a.m. I had a lecture on Mary Wollstonecraft. At 12 I've had a very insightful lecture on Hegel with Professor Maxstroth. He's an absolute genius when it comes to German thinkers, German philosophers and political thinking. I've been reading his essays for the Kant essay and he's really at the forefront of Kant criticism and interpretation, and it's really great. He demystified some of Hegel's ideas and busted some myths about him. It was a really cool lecture, and at 2 p.m. I attended a presentation about interning with the UN, which was also really insightful because it was led by the person who created a UN Cambridge network around the career service from our university. So now I've got a much better picture of how to get into the UN and into working with them, which is something that I'd really like to do in the future. If you were wondering what I was going to do with my languages degree, that's one of the choices. I'm now about to head into the essay cave at the library, probably the college library, and I'll try to finish my essay on Kant's idea of freedom in his moral and political philosophy. I'll try to finish it by tonight. I've also got to do a translation for tomorrow, and then I'll have 3 more days to worry about an essay on post-war German literature. Quite a lot to get through. There's no doubt that week 5 is, this term at least for me, the hardest, and I've definitely suffered from the week 5 blues since Thursday. In the meantime, just look at this sunset. Hi guys, it's now Wednesday morning. I stayed up till 3 last night to finish an assignment. I had actually finished the Kant essay at about 10:30, but then I had to do an assignment which I'd forgotten about, a stylistic analysis for a German text and culture class that I didn't know about, and we actually had to hand it in yesterday at 4 p.m. but we were told this like at the beginning of term and then 2 weeks ago, and I just forgot about it, and so did several of my classmates. But we asked the teacher yesterday what we had to do, and she said we could hand them in by today at 10 a.m. So I just finished it last night and sent it via email. You know, it's so annoying when you've got a system and you know that all your homeworks are in one place every time, and then there's this one assignment that's written in a different place because it's once a term. I obviously didn't check a different place because there's so much stuff to do. You just follow your system, look at where usually the homeworks are, do what's there and get on with it. But anyway, I did it. It was not so long. It took me a bit longer to write than I expected because I wanted to do it properly, not just quick and badly. I don't really know how the political thought supervision is going to work tomorrow. It's on Kant, and the supervisor said I could email him the essay after the supervision and just bring 2 copies of it in the actual supervision. He also said I could send it beforehand if it suits me, but I'm not sure if he's going to read it, and I've never had a supervision where I went and handed in the essay directly, because what else to talk about if not about an essay? I mean, you could talk about class generally or the topic, Kant more generally, but it's a bit weird. I'm actually looking forward to seeing how this particular supervisor goes about supervising. It's always interesting when you're trying new things out. I think I'll send it to him beforehand just in case he has some time to read it. But if he's not used to reading the essays before supervisions, he'll probably not read it, even if I send it to him before. But even if the essay is done, I still want to look at some more primary literature. from Kant's political writings, because I'm not really sure whether I've analyzed enough quotes from him in a certain part of my essay. So I want to check that, but then it'll be done and I'll send it to him. Oh my god, my voice. I'm really sorry that my voice is like this. It's just such a bad combination, week 5 and flu. But now at 11 I've got a history lecture. It's the one on 20th century German history with the professor who's also my supervisor for the optional dissertation. Actually, I'm still pressed for time because I've got one more essay to write by tomorrow. I've read the primary literature. There's not so much secondary literature, but still there is some, and I should go through that quickly before or at the same time as starting to write my essay. It will be on post-war German literature, and I will probably look at how aesthetics are used to render wartime memories into literature, because some of the authors use the realist mode. Other authors go for a more poetic, more fragmented way of telling these stories, and it would be interesting to look at how they're different. So apart from the lecture at 11 a.m. I don't have anything else planned for today, which is a good thing because I really need to finish this literature essay, and that's what I'll go and start on right now. If you're still watching this, thanks for tuning in. I'll probably catch up with you later today, and I'll actually get around to talking about procrastination and how I deal with it, and just my general advice on procrastination, or the fortunate lack thereof. So yeah, done with the banter. Talk to you later. Just came back from the library where I made the necessary adjustments to my Kant essay and started working on my second essay, but I had a rumbling in my tummy, so I came back to eat something. Yes, that was a Winnie the Pooh quote. I'm content with how the Kant essay turned out. It was, I think it's alright now. It's also within the word limit of 2,500, and yeah, I felt like I needed a break before starting working on my second essay, even though I've got to hand that in by basically 11 a.m. tomorrow when I need to go to a class. I'll try to skim read as much as possible today and start writing already, and hopefully I won't procrastinate a lot, although I've got the urge to do something else right now, like playing the guitar or listening to music. I'll probably listen to music while eating, but I hope I won't procrastinate a lot before actually starting to work on my next essay. So what I'll try to do in order not to do that is not open YouTube and just completely take a break from everything that's related to essays while I'm eating, and just listen to some music and think about something else for like half an hour or an hour, and then hopefully I'll come back with a bit more motivation to start working on that essay, because I'm quite confident I can finish it by tomorrow at 11. The deadline is quite tight. I'm not usually writing essays in such a small amount of time, but I've also realized that even when I've got loads of time, I put myself in a situation where I'm pressed for time in the end, because I procrastinate a lot before, and I don't know why I'm doing that unconsciously, but lately I've been thinking that I'm unconsciously putting myself in a stress situation, because that's possibly one of the situations in which I work most efficiently. Although I wish I could work that productively throughout the entire period. So say if I've got 2 weeks to write an essay, imagine working on the first day as productively as you actually work during the last 2 days before the deadline. You would get so much more reading done, but I don't know, I guess that's just how it works. You can't have the same level of motivation and productivity throughout the entire period, and that's possibly one of the reasons why procrastination might not actually be that bad. I mean, overdoing it is definitely an issue. If you procrastinate enough so that you miss your deadline or something like that, it's obviously not good. It's also not good if you then just write an essay without having read enough for it and just pouring unnecessary words into the Word document just to increase the word count without it being actually meaningful. so I'm not advocating that right now, but some amount of procrastination could sometimes be good. Also because while procrastinating, well, it depends what you're doing, but if you're doing something creative while procrastinating, I've realized that you actually think about the stuff you need to do in the back of your head, or at least I do sometimes. And some people, myself included, have some of their best ideas in the shower or while sitting on the toilet. Sometimes I find myself playing the guitar the night before the essay deadline, which I hopefully won't do today. And I probably won't be able to do that today. But then suddenly what seems to be the most brilliant idea for that essay comes to my mind, and then I just feel like I have to start writing. Not just because the deadline is approaching, but also because while procrastinating, my mind had the space to be creative about those ideas in the back of my head. So letting ideas sink in at the back of your head is something that procrastination can bring, and it can bring out very creative and spontaneous ideas that you then obviously need to check the validity of. But I think there shouldn't be a one-sided view that procrastination is inherently bad. I think that, like most of the other things in life, it's bad if you overdo it. But if you procrastinate and still meet all your deadlines and your grades are fine, you're doing well, no one's complaining about your performance, and you're not complaining about your performance, then I think that procrastination might actually be justified by your brain needing a well-deserved break between assignments, as well as needing space for creativity. So yeah, I'll go eat something now and take a short break, and then I'll let you know how the second essay of week 5 is going. Hi guys, it's now 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm in my pajamas, as you can probably see, and I've just finished my literature essay. I've also sent it directly to my supervisor. I'm dead tired right now. I can't wait to go to sleep, but I just thought I'd share this epic moment with you. Yeah, I'm really glad I finished the essay, although I stayed up late. Because I finished, tomorrow will be a great day. I'll feel so much better. I can't wait for the morning coffee tomorrow. Coffee tastes so good when you really need it. In any case, see you tomorrow. Hi guys, so I'm now back from my supervision on Kant. I think it went quite well, gained a lot of insight into how the topic questions should be approached. Instead of discussing my own essay, we discussed past exam papers and looked at specific questions and tried to understand what aspects of Kant's, especially political theories, are actually questioned, and what kind of topics an essay responding to those questions should cover. This helped create a much clearer idea of what I'll actually have to prepare for the exam, and I'm glad we did that. It was my first supervision not discussing my essay directly, at least in the first part, because we eventually got to my own essay and we went through the first 2 paragraphs, but I felt like orally I could have explained my ideas about content and about the question more clearly than I did, and I could have shown that I knew a lot more than I did. I think my essay was a lot more eloquent, that I could explain it orally. I'm a bit concerned about that, but I think it went well for a first supervision in this style. As you've probably realized by now, I stayed up late yesterday and the day before yesterday to finish these 2 essays, the one on Kant and the one on German, post-war German literature. That was also because on Sunday I procrastinated literally the entire day. I thought I'd just start with a quick break, and I really wanted to learn how to loop guitar properly and how to make beats in Ableton, and I thought I could automate loops in Ableton quite quickly and learn how to do that, and then at some point at midday just start working on my essays, and it would be fine if I worked until evening. But then it took a lot longer, and instead of working on my essays, which I knew had quite pressing deadlines, I started learning some more on music production. which was definitely not on my schedule. So yeah, that's how it always starts. You think you're gonna quickly do something, and then you end up doing that particular thing for hours and hours, and you forget about what you need to do actually, or you don't forget, but your brain doesn't want to do that. So I think there are two ways in which you can procrastinate, and one is to do something completely unproductive, or the other one would be to do something that is productive but is something that you like doing but doesn't really have a deadline. So you shouldn't prioritize it exactly at that point, or you should prioritize better and finish that which has a deadline. At the same time, had I started working Sunday in the morning, I would have had a very slow approach to working. I've probably read entire texts and went through line by line, and like this I put myself in a situation in which I had to skim read loads of text, especially for the literature part, because for Kant I had time for an entire week beforehand to read everything slowly. But I feel like becoming a pro at skim reading is a really good skill, and sometimes procrastination pushes you to do that in order to finally meet your deadline. In this sense, procrastination can also be good. Might have overdone it on Sunday, on other days as well, but I think a bit of procrastination is not necessarily so bad. Some ways to avoid procrastination would be to avoid all distractions and deliberately not turn on your internet if you don't necessarily need it, because sometimes you just go on the internet and lose a couple of hours on there. Then you realize you could have worked without even turning the Wi-Fi on because you had to read from a physical book or something. So avoiding distractions is a good thing. Changing the space where you're trying to work might be another good thing. So if in your room you've got loads of distractions, like I've got my guitar, and I usually chill out in my room, and I also work in my room, but it's not a specifically designated space for this. You also sleep in your room and do loads of other stuff. So if you really want to stay focused, you should consider changing this space and go to a designated space that your brain has developed a reflex that's the space for learning. So for example, at a library or at your favorite coffee shop, or it doesn't really necessarily have to be a quiet space. It could also be a crowded space if that's for you. In Cambridge we've got a tool called Space Finder, and it lists all the libraries and coffee shops and all the places where you could actually work in, and you can also filter it based on how you like the space to be, if you want it to be extremely quiet or not necessarily, or if you want it to have loads of light, or closer to the center, or if you want it to be coffee shops or just libraries. I suggest that you find a good space that you like and build a reflex around the idea that that's where you study and do nothing else than studying. This should help you stop procrastinating. Also, a planner is really good because it gives you a motivation to tick boxes, and if you've got everything that you need to do down in the planner, even if it's not an appointment, it can also be stuff that you personally want to do. You know that you can again build a reflex around the fact that you need to tick all the boxes every day, and only afterwards you can relax or do something else, or even in between, but put the breaks and the relaxing parts in the planner as well. So I've got this black basic weekly planner. I like seeing my entire week on a page so that I have the overview, and then if I need extra notes I write them on this side. And as you can see, my planner is quite full, and I try to stick to the plan that I make. I also make changes. Things I strike through are those that I don't get to do actually, but it's fine because I constantly add other things that I do, and it's here's a box that remained unticked. It feels so good right now. Even if you constantly change your planning and the order in which you do things. It's still good if they're on a list. And another thing that you could do is build your schedule in such a way that you only spend time in places where it's really difficult to procrastinate. For example, if you're really pressed for time and need to meet a deadline, you can set out for the next week to wake up at 7:30 every day and quickly have breakfast, and then go directly at say 8:30 directly to the library or to a space next to where you've got appointments that day, preferably a place where there are other people as well. And that way, if you're in the library or in the coffee shop next to the lecture block, then you're definitely directly in the working mindset, and you don't just spend time lazily getting out of bed and then starting a YouTube video while having breakfast, and then 10 videos later you realize, oh, you've got the next lecture in 5 minutes, you gotta go there, and then you don't know what to do because it's already lunchtime and you hadn't worked at all apart from going to a lecture. And that happens sometimes, especially if you wake up late. I suggest having a fixed schedule and getting out of your room as quickly as possible during the day so that you can be as productive as possible. In any case, don't forget to actually put breaks and relaxation time in your schedule, because it's good for you. You need to take care of yourself. It's not as if you had to work all the time or study all the time, but you can take all this into consideration if you're at a point where you feel like you could be more productive than you are. I hope these considerations provide some comfort if you are a constant procrastinator. If you're meeting your deadlines, it's probably also partly good for you that you procrastinate, and I would still advise to not procrastinate doing completely unproductive things, completely unnecessary things, like watching random videos on YouTube or something. So I'd encourage that if you procrastinate, you actually do something you love instead of or just wasting your time. But I wouldn't see procrastination as something that you should be necessarily guilty, that you should necessarily feel guilty about if you, as I said, meet your deadlines and if you're generally content with your performance at uni. So yeah, these are my thoughts on procrastination. It's now Thursday, the first day of week 6, but for me it's the beginning of a longer weekend, because for tomorrow I only have to hand in a translation, which won't be so difficult to do, and apart from that I can just take a break, start thinking a bit about the next essays, but not in a stressful kind of way. I'll definitely play some guitar and take a break, because week 5 has definitely taken its toll on my mood and my motivation, and I want to give myself a bit of time to recover from that and go back to writing essays in a couple of days with a different mindset and with a lot of motivation again. I'll probably just need a couple of days for that, or 2 or 3 days. That's it. I'll see you next week with a new vlog. If you like this one, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends, and I'd really appreciate it if you click the subscribe button. It really keeps me motivated to actually keep doing these videos. So see you soon. Bye.